What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here doing a TLG Reacts for the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal that happened earlier today. Dropped out of nowhere. No anticipation, no build-up, no nothing. It's like, you could have this big event that you could plan for ahead and then finally reveal it. But Nintendo basically just kind of like, had a note that it was coming, dropped it on the ground, went, just grab that and read that. And it's like, oh, okay. Really weird. But before we talk about the Switch 2, you haven't even watched this yet. I've seen a picture of it. It basically looks like the leaks. So I'm not surprised on how it looks, but ready to see some details. We passed 3,000 subs on this channel, so that is a new milestone for the channel. Thank you, everybody who has recently subbed. A lot of you came over from TikTok, and thank you, everybody who stuck with us over the years. We have a lot of people who have been around for a long time, and we appreciate all you guys, and we appreciate all the new subscribers as well. So yeah, it's been slow going from 2,000 to 3,000, but we hit 3,000, and that's awesome. So I'm glad people are still enjoying what we do and deciding to stick around. So pretty cool. And again, thank you guys, whether you've been around forever or you're brand new here. We appreciate all of you. And yeah, there was something else I was going to say. Oh, Tastecast came out yesterday. If you, want like a nice hour, I think it was like an hour and 45 minutes of just talking about gaming, check out that episode. It was the first one, so we did game releases. We reacted to Blood of the Dawn Walker and other things, so check that out. It was a fun episode. And yeah, so let's jump into this Nintendo Switch 2 first look trailer. Before we get a glimpse at what this thing actually looks like, is there anything you're hoping for when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2?
I didn't really put any thought into it, to be honest. Really, I like what they did with the Switch, so it just needs to be a little more current. I know they're not going to go full bore, pure competition with like, PS5 Pro and stuff like that.
They never do.
Something that makes it easy to hopefully get some, what am I looking for here? Same titles, because that's kind of a problem you run into when you're not competing, is that third-party developers have to make like separate versions of games for your console. So
Switch is pretty good about that.
Sure. And so I just hope that they have put enough oomph into it that it can at least get the same games to a certain extent. So
yeah,
obviously it's going to have first-party games. Nintendo, like Sony, is very good about that. So, but yeah, other than that, I'm mostly curious, like, what's in it, what kind of backwards compatibility it'll probably have.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good about that.
Price point.
I don't suspect it'll be super expensive, because Nintendo doesn't really sell expensive consoles. So
yeah, the only reason I thought about it at all is because I had a coworker was asking me if I'd seen it yet, and I was like, no, and I can't talk about it too much because I got to go home and react to it. But
yeah,
I said, he asked how much I thought it was going to cost. I was like, it depends on the hardware in it, but I don't know, $300 or not 200, like $300 if it's similar to Switch, but if they decide to put some more power in it, it could be $400 or $500. So
I think the highest they would go is $500, but I would assume $400.
Yeah,
but I would guess 400. 3 seems a little low for newer tech, but we don't know. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think first off, it's called the Switch 2, so we can only assume it's like the Switch. I've seen the pictures, so I know what I know, and it is basically what I saw in the leaks. But I'm glad they went with just Switch 2, because it's straight up. It's not the most inspired name, but it's not like the Switch U Uwu Super Edition XL. It's just Switch 2. Makes sense. The Switch was a huge success, so it makes sense they would just go, let's just fucking do that again. Like that made everybody happy. After the Wii U, which had some cool ideas, the Switch was just fucking solid. So makes sense they just kind of made a Switch 2. What I want is better ergonomics. I think the Switch, I love the size of it, but it's not great for my hands. I normally play it docked, so which is great. But on the go, it's not the best thing. But I love how small it is. So
right.
It's kind of what you have to deal with both ways. But better ergonomics, just better improvements across the board. Be cool to see a better screen, bigger screen, better speakers, better analogs, stuff like that would be fucking awesome. I want to see a different dock because I hate the original dock. I ended up buying a third-party one because I don't like that you have to slide something with a screen into an enclosed area. I want to see better hardware. I know we're going to get that, but I'm curious how much better. Will it be comparable to the base PS5? I don't know. That'd be fucking awesome. Or, the base Xbox series, not the S, would be phenomenal. And the Steam Deck is way more powerful than it should be for how small it is, and I'm sure you can make an even better one now. So yeah, hardware increase. Honestly, I just want to be the Switch, but more powerful, better ergonomics, improvements across the board. And if they can nail that, it's weird because the PS5 Pro just came out, and I want it, but not that bad, which is the first time in a long time that any kind of console thing came out that I'm just like, yeah, I'd get it, but I don't really need it. Switch 2, I haven't seen it yet, but if it looks awesome, this will probably be a day one buy for me because I really, really love the Switch. It's just so outdated that I just don't use it as much as my current stuff. But there's great games on the Switch, so backwards compatibility I'm hoping for as well. Nintendo typically does that, so I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, basically just want a better Switch. So, anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, let's just watch this and get a glimpse at what this thing is like. This is the Nintendo Switch 2 first look trailer. In 3, 2, 1, go. OG Switch. Bigger screen. It's actually kind of clever the way they did that. USB-C, of course. On the top.
Oh, thank you.
That's nice. That's also nice. I'm already stoked. Bigger controllers. Joy-Cons. Interesting. The colors are a little more minimal now, which I actually prefer.
Yeah, it comes off more as a highlight. I'm sure they'll make crazy color controllers.
Yeah.
But as a default, I think it's smarter to go
It just
highlighted.
Yeah, it looks a little more premium and like not so childish.
Yeah.
They looked kind of like mice. That was weird. Oh, different connector.
Yeah, I like that. It kind of looks like all the PC ones that are out.
Yeah. I just like that it doesn't snap on, even though it is satisfying to click them downward.
Probably too many mechanical failures.
Yeah, maybe. New Mario Kart?
Well, you're not getting your dock wish.
Oh, yep. It's so big it doesn't even fucking fit in there. So
little things bump out there, so you have a little more.
Oh yeah. Hold on. It's coming out this year.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I think I actually fucking called that. What comes out? Oh, for the yeah, that's smart. See, exactly what I wanted. Just small little improvements.
Yep, this year.
2025. Play Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games as well as Nintendo Switch games. Fucking awesome.
Good.
Nintendo's gonna sell a lot of this, like they always do. But this is exactly what they should have did. Nintendo Direct on
April 2nd.
Yep. Cool. I'm sure they'll do us a full explanation of everything. All right, before we jump into the other video we have that's 30 details from this presentation or this little reveal, first impressions?
I think it's, well, first off, I think they probably had this like planned out to some extent. I almost feel like this came out with no announcement though because of all the accessory leaks that were starting
There's
to happen.
Everybody knew this thing was coming. I
Yeah.
mean, like literally a couple days ago, I was watching some gaming videos. I think it's via IGN or something, and they were saying that they just kept talking about the Switch 2 like it's coming. Like they know,
Yeah.
but they couldn't confirm it. But they're like, well, the Switch 2 coming out, like all the like speculating. I'm like, yeah, that thing's got to get announced soon. Like,
Yeah.
but I assumed there'd be like Nintendo Direct is coming, and then everybody's gonna go, what are
Which
they
is
gonna
what
show?
this is technically doing. I
Yeah,
guess,
but they just showed it.
Yeah.
So it's like really, I mean, I'm glad because we're looking at it, and they honestly, in 2 minutes, without saying a fucking word, they showed a lot.
Yeah.
Like that made sense. They showed the improvements through visuals, so it's a very clever reveal.
Yeah.
What were you saying though? Sorry,
No, that's
I just
fine.
went off on the whole thing.
Yeah. Anyways, my impressions of it though, the bigger size is welcome. I mean, the screen didn't have to be bigger. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But the controllers being a little bigger is kind of nice because the Switch, as much as I like it, the Joy Cons are definitely not meant for, I think, the average Westerner's hands.
Sure.
And so it was a little rough to hold sometimes, depending on what you were doing with it. The color scheme is definitely much more up my alley.
I like it so much more.
Yeah, I really am looking forward to what kind of stuff they'll do also with like controllers later. If they'll do like different kinds of highlights, if they'll do like different colors as the base color, and then also the joystick color and stuff like that. I think they could play around with that quite a bit. The connectors from the controller to the Switch itself, I definitely prefer. The sliding was kind of cool, but also there was a lot of times where like lining it up was sometimes a headache, especially if like you left it in the dock. I'd be like, my Switch is in a kind of a weird spot, so I'd be just kind of like struggling with putting those on, and I would pull the screen out to connect them again and put it back in.
One thing I like about this design too is it's like just kind of elevated, so that like if you were to play with it, I feel like things are just a little more ergonomic for your hands.
Right, and they're able to do that too because of the way it like it clicks into the side of the thing instead. So
Yep.
the indicators are still there to see which controllers you have. It's very familiar to the one before it. The layout's exactly the same, just a little bit bigger, which is a good thing. Backwards compatibility with the actual Switch games is was expected and appreciated.
Yeah, of all these Switch games, and now and some of them I still want to play. I'm just not because I don't touch my Switch. But with a brand new Switch, I might go back and play them, and maybe
Right.
they'll do something with like enhanced graphics or something like
Or just better
PlayStation
frame
does.
rate even.
Yeah,
because
that'd
the
be
game-
awesome.
Most of them run at 30, so
Yeah, there's a couple games that like were playable, but I'm like, this is really pushing
Struggling. Yeah.
this console. Yeah,
I hope that similarly to when I've had to have two Switches, unfortunately, but transferring your stuff from one console to the other was really easy. Hopefully, it's still the same, where I can just transfer stuff from my Switch to my Switch 2. That way, I can keep all my digital games and stuff like that without having to just necessarily re-download all of them. I like that it kind of reminds me of like all the PC handhelds that are out there, like the Steam Deck, the Lenovo, and the ROG one, for example, has a very similar look. I think it actually looks a little more. What word do I want? I don't know. It looks like a piece of tech I actually like want to have out. The Switch is neat and all, but it looks like a Nintendo product basically.
Yeah.
This looks like a piece of hardware that has like some of that Nintendo flair just on it, which is nice.
yeah. This is like probably their most. Well, the DS is pretty cool looking, but this is probably their most like I don't want to say like adult looking console, but like it looks less like a toy. Even though I thought the Switch's design looks cool, but like the color scheme was just like
So in your face.
it pops, like
Yeah.
catch your eye. But like this just seems like a little cooler to me. It's like more subtle.
Yeah.
What is this?
I don't know. I can't really see it. And we're not gonna.
Maybe it's just a connector.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's how. Well, maybe we could see it here.
What were you saying though?
I think it's just. I I mean, that was pretty much it. It's just
Yeah, it scans their amiibo things.
yeah, it's an infrared thing, I think. Yeah, overall, I just think it's an improvement in a good subtle improvements, but the types I think it needed.
Yeah.
Also, the triggers look a little nicer too. So,
Is this? I mean, we don't know, but is that a button or is that how you detach them?
oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out hopefully in the next video.
Yeah.
But you got anything else? I pretty much agree with everything you said. I think it looks better. I think it's a better, it literally just looks like a very well thought out upgrade to the Switch, but more than an upgrade because obviously they changed quite a bit of things. I think it looks like, a much more newer and premium and sleek console. I like that the screen's bigger. I like that the ergonomics are bigger. I like that it has the kickstand that actually adjusts in different ways.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because I had to buy a case for mine to do that.
Looks like it has little bumpers on it, which is kind of cool. I just noticed that.
Those are probably rubber for grip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the plastic isn't just sitting on like a table or whatever.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I really, really, really like the color scheme. And like you said later, if they want to get crazy with it, you can buy like specialty Joy-Cons. It makes sense. But, this gives you that sense of like, this is the blue controller, this is the red controller. If people have if they're playing with the Joy-Cons, it still gives it a little bit of flair with the color without being like, too toy looking, I guess. Buttons look about the same. They look a little more improved, but I can't tell much from here. I don't remember the analogs having these notches, but maybe they do. I don't know. They just look everything looks a little better. Really curious about the hardware. I want the what's his nuts Cerny from PlayStation breakdown. I want like a 40-minute video of some guy just explaining to me what's in this thing. I love that it has backwards compatibility. That's expected but huge. These are kind of like very subtle. I think this is probably what you scan the amiibo with, if they still do that or not.
It was. They did. I thought it was in the joysticks before.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I thought it had a thing on it. I don't remember. I never did that shit, but pretty cool. And one thing I was going to bring up earlier, but you were talking, obviously, so I don't want to interrupt. But I like that this is curved now. I don't know if anybody had issues with like the hard angles, but it looks like a little more subtle, I guess. I would like to see the inside of it, though. I don't expect this thing to be like super awesome. It's just a dock, but hopefully they learned from the first one, because when the Switch first came out, people were like scratching their screens, putting them in there. I've never done that because I don't just jam it in there when I put it in there, but I think a lot of people were doing that. So, hopefully they've thought that out. Hopefully maybe there's like some kind of pad or something in there that just protects the screen when you put that in there. And if this is the new Mario Kart that we've heard about, looks good. So, but I can't really speculate too much on. I mean, I can say it looks good, but I can't tell how good because obviously we're seeing it through a screen and we don't have the info if it's running at 60 frames per second or whatever this thing's capable of. But hopefully the Nintendo Direct will show us more when it comes to the games, especially because is it Metroid? There's a new Metroid coming out, right?
I think so.
I feel like that'll probably be the intersection game between the last Switch and this Switch, because they normally have a game come out that's on both when it first comes out, like almost like a transition. But yeah, I actually really love the way this thing looks. So it just looks so much better, and I love the size of it. So especially after using, I know it's not going to be as big as the Steam Deck, and the Steam Deck is surprisingly very comfortable for how big it is. So, and I love the screen. So,
but she's definitely big.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's huge. But it's awesome. I love having that thing. Yeah, overall, I'm happy in every single way. The only thing they could do is say something about a feature of it that sounds like shit. Other than that, I'm like sold. I think it looks awesome. So, ready to watch the 30 details from the Nintendo Switch 2 trailer?
Yep.
All right, this is via IGN. We're gonna watch this and hopefully learn some stuff. 3, 2, 1, go.
It's finally here. After months of speculation and rumor, Nintendo's new console has been announced, and it's called the Nintendo Switch 2. It's an understated name to match an understated console. On first inspection, it barely looks any different to a regular Switch. But take a closer look, and there's plenty of fascinating details that suggest how Nintendo has evolved its beloved hybrid console. 30 of them, in fact, and we're here to show you them all. From a brand new face button to whole new ways of using the Joy-Con, here's everything revealed in the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal trailer. The Switch 2's form factor is much the same as its predecessor, just a little bigger. The main unit of the console has grown in size, and the Joy-Con are taller too. We estimate the entire console is around 15% bigger than the original Switch. Gone are the brightly colored Joy-Con of the last generation. Nintendo has opted for a uniform gray across the entire console, which gives the entire device something of a sleeker, Steam Deck-like appearance. That's not to say the console is devoid of color entirely. It pays homage back to the original Switch's bright red and blue controllers with a ring of color around each analog stick. This extends to the inner edges of both the console unit and each Joy-Con, which not only looks slick, but acts as a color coding system. Red slots into red, and blue slots into blue. Talking of slots, the Joy-Con no longer slide into place on rails. Instead, they now directly slot into the device, with a protruding connector on the main unit plugging into a slot on the inner edge of the Joy-Con. While unconfirmed by this trailer, rumors have suggested that each Joy-Con is held in place using magnets, similar to Apple's MagSafe laptop charging cables. The rear of each Joy-Con features a newly designed trigger system that releases the controller from the main unit. As you can briefly see in the demonstration video published on Nintendo.com,
slow-moing a second ago, and I was wondering if that was because even at the end of the last trailer we watched, when they removed the controller, it pivoted out like this.
Yeah.
And so it makes me think if it is a magnet, the magnet's at the top.
This thing, maybe? Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
And like if you click it, I think it just pushes it. That's what it looked like. Rewind a little bit and watch it again.
See in the demonstration video published on Nintendo.com, squeezing the trigger causes a piston-like component inside the Joy-Con to push the controller away from the console. On the front of the Joy-Cons, we can see that the classic controller layout has been preserved. The analog sticks remain offset, with the left stick sat above the 4 direction buttons, and the right stick below the A, B, X, and Y face buttons. Towards the tops of the controller are the plus and minus buttons, and at the bottom is the square capture button on the left and circle home button on the right. Below the home button is a new, unlabeled button. What it does is currently a mystery to anyone but Nintendo. The L and R shoulder buttons are exactly where you'd expect them to be, and sitting beneath them are the ZL and ZR triggers. These appear to be deeper and more rounded than those on the Switch, and so will hopefully be more comfortable to use and easier to operate. The analog sticks still use a low-profile design, but their faces have a notably smaller inside ring radius and thicker, taller rims. This likely is to provide better thumb grip and support. There's no sign of the NFC Amiibo interface on the right-hand Joy-Con, but that's not to say it won't be there. After all, the feature was invisible on the original Switch. What does seem to be missing though is the IR sensor that was on the bottom edge of the original right Joy-Con. Considering barely any Switch games used it, it's perhaps unsurprising to see it come on the Switch 2.
Maybe it's just dead.
Once again, the internal edges of each Joy-Con controller have SL and SR buttons, indicating that the Switch 2 will still allow players to use each individual Joy-Con as its own controller. The big improvement here, though, is that the SL and SR buttons are significantly larger, potentially up to 4 times the length of those on the original Switch. They will almost certainly be easier to use. The strip of 4 green LEDs that indicate which player each Joy-Con is assigned to has returned, although this time it's on the forward-facing edge of the connector strip, rather than the inward-facing one. Between the SL and SR buttons is the connector port that links each Joy-Con to the main console unit, but also another couple of interesting components. Mirroring the original Switch, we can see the sync button, which will pair a Joy-Con with the console. It's the component above the connector that proves most intriguing though. This small, clear lens could well be a laser sensor similar to what's inside a computer mouse. If so, it would mean the Joy-Con can be used like a mouse. The trailer even suggests this, when the Joy-Con skates around with their wrist accessories attached. They literally look like scurrying mice with tails.
How interesting.
That'd be fun. That's crazy if that's true.
They're back in a newly
And with
designed
those
form,
triggers,
with red and
you can
blue
click.
colors to match the
Yeah.
internal color splash on each Joy-Con.
Or if you play a shooter
Moving
like
on to
that.
the main console unit itself.
That'd be
the key
fucking
improvement
crazy.
is
That
a
would be
bigger
crazy,
screen.
yeah.
It's not quite the near edge-to-edge
Like,
panel
hold
that the
one
Switch
and then use
OLED
the other one as
boasted,
a mouse,
but it takes up
move and
significantly
shoot.
more of the
Yeah.
unit than the original Switch.
Metroid Prime will do that,
what
dude.
display technology it
That's my
uses
big
is
fucking
currently
speculation
unclear.
right now.
While would love to see a bright OLED screen, the base model could well use a more traditional LED panel.
I really hope
the
they
top edge of the
just
device is largely
give us
unchanged.
OLED.
It features a slightly redesigned power
Yeah,
and
by
volume
now they
switch,
should,
a
hopefully.
3.5mm headphone jack, and a ventilation grill that appears to be of
Headphone
a
jack,
roughly
hell
similar
yeah.
size to that on the original Switch, just split into 3 vents rather than 5. The game card slot also remains on the top edge of the console. It's also the only visible slot on the device. Considering the machine is backwards compatible, that means the Switch 2's game cartridges will
Sick.
almost certainly be the same form factor as those used in the original Switch. There is one new curious addition to the top edge to speculate about though. Next to the headphone jack, we can see a USB-C port. What this is for, we're uncertain, as the Switch 2 also has
Accessories.
the same bottom-mounted USB-C port as its predecessor for docking and charging. Perhaps there
Plug
are a
controller
range
to
of
it.
USB-based peripherals in the work that make more sense mounted to the top of the console. Or perhaps
maybe.
the next
Maybe they're pulling
Pokemon
a
will go
Nintendo
fully old
64
school
where
and
it
use a
has a
link
port, but
cable to
nothing
trade
out for it yet.
monsters. We're perhaps too excited than we should be to find out what a mystery USB slot does. Alongside the bottom-facing USB-C port are new, downward-firing speakers that replace the original Switch's rear-facing speakers. This new position will
Good.
hopefully ensure better sound quality. The rear of the console sports a brand new kickstand system, which runs the entire length of the console. It does admittedly look a bit flimsy, but the rubber feet on the edges of the console unit itself may be there to help support the kickstand and keep the entire device steady. The kickstand also seems to be able to lock into multiple angles, and one that lies at a much shallower angle that's almost lying flat. As you'd expect, the Switch can be plugged into a dock and connected to a TV. The dock appears nearly identical to the original Switches, but the corners have been rounded off to match the radius of the Joy-Cons. Oh, and there's a massive Switch 2 logo on the front of it too. Also mirroring the original Switch is the inclusion of a controller peripheral that the Joy-Cons slot into. It looks just as uncomfortable as the original version, but hopefully hands-on time will reveal that some improvements have been made.
Yeah.
You can't have a console reveal trailer without a game, and this Switch 2 reveal gives us a sneak peek at what appears to be a brand new Mario Kart game. It appears this will be a bigger, more chaotic version of Nintendo's beloved racer, as the starting line has space for 24 racers.
Oh,
Mario
good.
Kart 8 was
Good,
limited to
eye.
just 12 racers. Arching over that starting line is a sign that reads, Mario Kart Mario Bros Circuit. It appears to be a whole new, seemingly American-flavored track for Mario Kart, one that appears to make use of a more open space and off-road sections. The clip confirms 10 characters for the roster: Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Peach, Yoshi, Toad, Donkey Kong, Daisy, Rosalina, and finally, Wario, who can be spotted for just a split second as the screen flips. While brand new games such as Mario Kart were obviously on the cards, it's good to see that old Switch games will be supported through backwards compatibility.
Most, at
However,
least.
the reveal trailer does warn that certain games may not be supported. We suspect that this may refer to games that use peripherals that directly connected to the Switch 1's Joy-Cons. Ring Fit
makes
Adventure, for instance, required the Joy-Con to be slotted into the ring, and the new Joy-Con design will presumably be incompatible with the
Right,
old
that makes
rail
sense.
system.
Unless they sell a
but
brand
when
new
can we
ring
get our
for the new
hands on this
controllers?
brand new Nintendo
just
console?
need to make
2025 is
Sure.
the only
So-
date we're given, so sometimes within the next 12 months. We'll learn much more, including hopefully a release date in just a few short months. A Nintendo Direct is scheduled for April 2nd. Following the Direct, you'll be able to get hands-on with the console yourself as part of the Nintendo Switch 2 experience, a worldwide tour taking place between April and June, starting on April 4th in New York and Paris, and then going on to visit cities such as London, Berlin, Melbourne, Tokyo, and Seoul. It is open to all Nintendo account holders, provided you win a ticket via the free-to-enter ballot. Registration for the ticket raffle opens on January 17th. And those are the 30 key details revealed by the Switch 2 announcement trailer. Be sure to watch the trailer itself in full. And for everything
We
else
did.
Nintendo and
We already did. All right. Anything? Any thoughts after their speculation on things?
Well, most of it we kind of like were able to see ourselves in the original trailer. But the couple notes that he brought up that I thought were interesting were the magnetic connectors, and now seeing that little piston to like remove it. I would think that it is going to probably be magnetic. It definitely seems like it now.
Yeah.
Which is nice. That's less parts for wear and tear. Though the piston might wear out. We'll see.
At least it's a simple design.
Yeah.
You're pressing a button to just move a piston. And if it's just using a piston to pull that out, couldn't you just yank that thing out anyway?
Yeah, probably. It might be a little more difficult because of the way it's shaped or whatever. But
yeah.
I'm sure you probably could.
I know the magnet on iPhones holds things pretty good, and you can pull it off still, but like it holds on there pretty well. Yeah. So I assume it's gonna use something similar.
Yeah, the sensor on the inside that we were both kind of like didn't know what it was, and then brought up the fact that it looked like the same as the bottom of a mouse. That was like such a, oh my god, that could totally be it.
Yeah, Nintendo will try things.
Yeah.
So like, sometimes people speculate on, not to bring up iPhone again for some reason, but people always are like, when a new iPhone's come out, they're like, oh, it's going to have like some kind of projector that will put a keyboard on the ground or on a table and you'll be able to type and stuff. That was a huge thing for like 3 iPhones in a row, and they never did it. And like you hear things about like what PlayStation's going to do and all these things, and then with the Nintendo, they will try weird shit.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not too out of the realm of possibility if that is indeed what they're trying to do with the sensor.
Yeah, it's interesting. I also wonder if it maybe is to add a little bit more like PC style ability to it. So maybe like, not that with them being kid friendly, they probably don't want to put a web browser in there. But I was thinking of things like web browsers, etc.
But just navigating the store and stuff would be
Yeah.
so much better than using D-pad, even though it's not D-pad, and analogs.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see if it is in fact that, and the applications for it, though, for sure.
It would just be crazy if you could like actually play games with it, because there's already third-party hardware you can buy for consoles to use a mouse and keyboard.
Right.
And if you could literally hold one Joy-Con in your hand for the analog for movement, and then use the other Joy-Con sideways as a mouse, it'd be really weird if you could play games like that.
Yeah.
It'd be neat if it was even like an additional function. Like, that's not even the way the game's meant to be played, but like if a first-person shooter comes out, you could just turn that on and try that out. It wouldn't be as good as a mouse because the ergonomics sideways isn't going to be fucking awesome, but it'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. I don't know if anything else he said was like really new or different from what we had said before. But overall, I mean, it's neat to see. I'm looking forward to hearing a more technical breakdown of it, so I can actually have like a hard opinion. But the backwards compatibility alone, the larger size, was basically all I needed to hear. So,
yeah. Yeah, I don't really have much else to add from what we talked about earlier and what we've talked about up until now. I just, I really hope they're right in that speculation that that's a mouse. I think the trailer kind of leans in the direction of like, that's a safe bet, because they literally made the Joy-Cons move like mice. And so that'd be really cool. Even if it's just to go around the UI and go to like, go through the shop or, download stuff. It's going to be, much more better than clicking through. It's not that big a deal. Obviously, every console you just use the D-pad or analog and get around, but if you could use it like that, that'd be really cool. It'd be also cool to see it utilized if they do that in just like mini games or something. I don't know, you could do a bunch of stuff with it, so that'd be awesome if they did that. Also curious about the USB-C on the top. We had already talked about that a little bit, but there's a bunch of stuff you can do with it. It's a USB-C. Anything could plug into it. So
yeah, I almost wonder if it's just there, like as with the same exact functionality as the bottom one, but maybe like you want to hold it in your hand and charge it instead of the cable coming out of the bottom.
Sure.
It'd be coming out of the top then. For
yeah,
you.
I mean, just having an extra USB-C is just good in general. If you can charge it from either side, that'd be great. If you could plug a controller, like you have a quarter controller, you just want to plug into that. Cool. Like, there's a bunch of stuff you can do with it. They could add peripherals later. I don't know why you'd have a peripheral sticking out the top of the thing unless you had it sitting somewhere and you plug it into the top. I don't know, but I'm sure they got a plan for it. And like I said, I think having an extra, I'll take as much USBs as I can with anything. So
true.
never a bad thing to have more USBs. The kickstand also, we already talked about it, but I think it looks like a good design. He was saying it looked kind of flimsy. If it's like a cheap plastic, it would look flimsy, but I suspect they're gonna either have a higher grade plastic, or maybe it's gonna be like aluminum or something where it's not gonna break easily, but be lightweight. And so I'm not too worried about that. I think it looks like a good design, especially with those rubber stoppers on the bottom. That just everything on this thing just looks like they made the Switch. It was awesome, and they're like, how can we make it better? And it looks like they just did that with everything. And I'm really curious about that fucking button, because it doesn't even have a symbol on it, and I wonder if it will have a symbol, but they kept it off because they want to explain it. It could just be like a record button, like the PS5 does. Yeah,
maybe.
Because I assume this thing's going to be closer up to date to the point where it's going to be able to shadow record footage and stuff. So
yeah, and I almost wonder too if they're going to implement like maybe streaming from the console as well, like the other ones have. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
But Nintendo's always been a little resistant to online stuff. So.
Yeah, they're behind on that.
Yeah,
even with the Switch. So, but yeah, overall, I'm very happy with what I saw here. If this is a console, I want more info. I don't want to get too hyped on it, but I already know it's gonna be more powerful than the Switch. I just want to know how much more powerful. But it's looking like a day one buy for me if I can get my hands on one. It looks fucking awesome. So, and I love the original Switch. So, and this just looks better.
Yeah, I'm in a pretty similar boat. Plus, like having something like this is nice for traveling. The only reason I haven't used mine recently is a lot of the stuff that I want to play on it is on PC.
Yeah. But at least the Switch has exclusives.
It does. But then also with the Switch 2 definitely being more modern regardless of how close it is to current gen stuff, it'll just unlock more options as well for games coming out for it, because it's been kind of slow outside of, and I've seen some people talk about it a little bit, but the eShop has been like just kind of filled with a bunch of like questionable indie games at this point. So
yeah,
so it'd be nice to see a healthy shop again. So
sure, I agree. Anything else?
no.
All right. Well, I think we're both, at the very least, interested in this and want to find out more. So we will be watching that Nintendo Direct when it comes out,
for sure,
and reacting to it. But let us know in the comments, what do you guys think about the Switch 2? How do you feel about the name? How do you feel about the design? What has you excited? Maybe there's something about it you're not happy about. Maybe you have some concerns. Is there some features you're hoping for? What do you think about that mouse speculation? What do you think about that button? What do you think that does? And price point.
Eject button.
How maybe self-destruct button. I think that'll be $400. I don't think it's gonna be $300.
I think it's safe to say that. I would not count Nintendo out of trying to still hit that $300 price point.
Or $350 maybe.
But this is gonna sound weird. I would hope for closer to a $400 price point, because that means the hardware is a little nicer.
Yeah. Well, they'll release a fucking Switch Lite later, Switch 2 Lite.
Or
that'll be the cheaper
with
one.
no removable Joy-Cons and stuff, or whatever. I'm sure they will. So.
Yep.
But, yeah.
So yeah, let us know in the comments what do you guys think, and price point. What do you think it's going to be in the comments below? But thanks for watching. Thank you for joining me, Chevy, for this. Stay tuned. We have this weekend. We're planning on doing our Game of the Year discussion for the games of 2024, and we'll be talking about our Game of the Year, our own picks, and our runner-ups to that. So look forward to that. And until then, have a good one, guys, and take it easy.